Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. I'm excited today to pick up on our live sales training. Today is October 16th, 2023, and we're going to be talking about your sales pipeline. Before I do, though, I'd like to just throw a tip out as a thank you to those showing up early and on time. It really helps the LinkedIn algorithm so it can put the word out to other people to let them know we're doing training and come on in and join us. The other thing is that I like doing these tips as a way to just say thank you, right? I really appreciate the fact that you even show up. That's an important thing to me to keep going as a trainer, people in the class. And so we get routinely, 50 to 100 people on the days we actually do any kind of promotion. We're already at almost 50 people right now. And so that's awesome because it helps us build your community in the chat, the people you talk to. My tip for you for today is, if you haven't seen this already, is go take a look at my profile. I posted a newsletter update today with the directory of small business liaison officers for large prime government contractors. So these, if you're not familiar with it, right, SBLOs or small business liaison officers are the small business professionals or small business specialists for large companies, similar to how we look to agencies and go knocking on the small business specialists' door. These people are the entry point into a large business. And so go take a look. There's over 100 different companies in there. In fact, I posted this today. I've been doing it for a while, but it's a new way of me sharing this information, just completely ungated and putting it here on LinkedIn. And when I did, I instantly had two different large businesses get back to me and say, "Hey, what about us? Can we get in there?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. You got 5,000 people in your company, and you're large. You're exactly who we want in here, so that small businesses can reach you." Anyways, go check out that newsletter article that's on my LinkedIn profile. You should be able to easily access it, right? And scroll down and just see which companies you wish you were working with, and begin to follow those people, maybe reach out and make an introduction call. All right, that was just a tip as a thank you for those showing up early and on time. I really appreciate it. Again, thanks for those of you engaging in chat. That's always helpful. Let me get started with my training going live here. Okay, again, today we're going to be talking about how to pack your sales pipeline. In today's training, I want to talk to you about how to pack the sales pipeline for your federal market with slam dunk opportunities. These are opportunities that are, guaranteed to win. And really, the reason I think about this kind of training is because when you think about your business, and I often hear from a lot of folks that they struggle with business development and capture. I always say, look at the 7-step process, right? So I teach the 7-step process for success, or federal revenue success, is research, targeting, outreach, which leads to relationships, opportunities, and proposals. All of that will ensure that you're hitting your sales and revenue goals. And if you're not hitting your sales goals, you can just reverse engineer that 7-step process and look and go, are we writing enough winning proposals? Those are the proposals the government says, man, I want to award to this company. If you're not winning enough, you're probably not writing enough winning proposals. And if you're not winning a lot of proposals, there's a really good chance your pipeline is either not filled enough or has not enough slam dunk opportunities, those ones that you feel like were written for you. A slam dunk opportunity, the way I like to describe it, are ones that no one in your company has to rationalize for it to be in your pipeline. Everybody who's in your company, even if it's 2 people or 20 people, look and say, that's for us. That is written for us. Let's go win it. And so when you think about how do you get slam dunk opportunities into your pipeline, it really comes down to just shifting left in the process. And so obviously you could shift left in the 7-step process that I talk about, but also think about the government's acquisition lifecycle, the way they do business. And if you shift left, meaning if you get involved earlier in the acquisition lifecycle, then you're going to have an increased chance of identifying and finding those slam dunk opportunities. So we'll talk more about that in the training. Today, I'm going to cover down on how to identify or know your slam dunk opportunities. So this is the criteria you would put in place to know those slam dunks are. Those opportunities are slam dunk opportunities. And then the second thing I want to cover down on is just traditional ways that we find opportunities. These are still good ways, but I want to wrap up with the best way to find slam dunk opportunities, right? So the traditional ways are how you can find a lot of opportunities, but finding slam dunk opportunities, there's one way that is better than all of them. And I just want to make sure we talk about that. It's not a secret, by the way. It's just one of the ways, and I'm bringing it to the top. I don't share secrets. I share process and information, right? So if you don't know me, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been helping people like you understand that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow a process, it goes from A to Z, and when you follow that process, you have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I want for you. Again, I just mentioned the SBLO directory, so take a look at that. But put your company name into the chat, right? If you haven't done this already, put your company name. If you get good at this, put your tag your company, and then put your core competency, 2 or 3 words that are in there so that other people can see who you are. We get buyers in here. We get large businesses in here. We get other small businesses in here. We get people like me and PTAX and SBA who come in who want to help you succeed. This is a good community for you to engage in. And so make sure you engage with others in the chat. Share a little bit about your company with those 2-3 words. You can also mention like what city and state you're in, so maybe people connect that way. What your target agency is. Hey, we're going after this. Don't put it all in blocks, right? You can drop it down into different chats, and it helps people see it quickly and move on, see it quickly and engage. And also, if you're an 8A, HUBZone, et cetera, put that in. Let other people know. Those are, you're not leading with your tags, but you're letting us know who you are. Okay, let's dive into the meat of today's training. We're going to be talking about knowing your slam dunk opportunities. I already mentioned this a little bit, but you want to have a clear criteria in place that when you see an opportunity, you can look to your criteria and kind of check off the criterion as you look at the opportunity. So for example, one of the criteria that you must have is that an opportunity should be in your target agency. If it's not in your target agency, it's not a slam dunk opportunity. Just because an opportunity isn't in your target agency doesn't mean it won't make it into your pipeline and you won't pursue it. There's reasons you might want to do it, but it's not a slam dunk opportunity, right? A slam dunk opportunity is going after an opportunity that's in your target agency, and a target agency means that, you know, when you define it the way I recommend, it's an agency you've done work at before. Right? So you've done a lot of work at, and you can be subcontracting, and that'd be fine. But where you've done work is where you want to expand. This is why I say when you choose a target agency, make sure that agency is big enough for you to grow a $50 or $100 million a year book of business in there. It doesn't mean you won't go work for smaller agencies and do some stuff. That's fine, right? I had the executive office of the White House or president as a customer once, and I thought it was great. And it's cool and it's interesting, right? And it's fun to tell the story, but their budget was so small for that actual office. But if I look over to DHS or HHS or, you know, the Navy, their budgets are huge. There's so much room to grow. And so when I think about a target agency, I put it to there and I put it to a place where I've done the work. So that's a piece of criteria that I want to look at when I'm looking at an opportunity to say, is a slam dunk. The next one that I use is, does it match my core competency? Is it around what we're best at? Do we have proven skills on this? It doesn't mean, I'm not talking about the things that we wish we could do and we plan on doing. You can do that stuff later, but that's not a slam dunk opportunity. If you're a company that is an AWS partner, or you do cloud services for AWS or around AWS or even Microsoft, right? Then an opportunity that is a cloud migration or building cloud native apps or whatever it is, as long as it's around cloud and AWS, then it's fitting your core competencies. So you're able to sit there and check that off on the criteria for a slam dunk opportunity and say, yep, it's in our core competencies where we have proven skill. The last one that I use is, do we have experience, right? Are we looking at an opportunity and it matches the experience I have? So an example, if I stick with that Amazon Web Services or cloud migration example, if the opportunity is a cloud migration project and our experiences have been, our past performances have been cloud migration, and we've done several of those, then that matches that criteria for a slam dunk opportunity. If it's not, it begins to get outside of our space. So when it goes to Google Cloud, you're starting to wonder, is it a slam dunk? But the minute it goes out and it's software development, it's no longer a slam dunk opportunity. Remember, I'm trying to distinguish the difference between opportunities that are in your pipeline that are slam dunks, absolutely match everything you do and how, and you would just be able to win on those, and other opportunities. There might be other opportunities that are a stretch a little bit away from your slam dunk criteria that you have in your pipeline, and that's fine. But these slam dunks, the more slam dunk opportunities you can identify and put into your pipeline, the more chance you can write winning proposals that when the government sees your proposal, they're going to say, wow, this company is awesome. They've done work with us before. Their skill set and their strength matches the needs and the requirements in this work, in this piece of work, in this contract. And then their experience aligns to the work that we want done. They've migrated clouds and we want somebody to migrate a cloud. When you have that, that's a slam dunk opportunity. So that's just a definition. You need to define for yourself, what is the criteria you will use for a slam dunk opportunity? Take the time to do it. Get on a whiteboard, spend an hour, debate a little bit within your team. But if you can define that, then you're good to go. You'll be able to identify slam dunk opportunities. One thing I wanted to just talk to you about, if you're not farther along, right? In my training, I get people who are in larges, people who are in firms that are like 10 to 30, 40 million, getting ready to graduate. And then, good amount of people who are also brand new coming into government contracting, right? Been in a year, 2 years, whatever. I really want to stress this point, and I'm going to get so much better in FY 2024, not wavering on this point. If you are new, subcontract under small businesses. Don't even go to large businesses, right? If you're new, don't do what all of us who have gone before you do, which is struggle for years to kind of get traction. We try to go after prime contracts, identify a slam dunk and go in. Don't do that. When you go after the prime contracts before you have any experience, you're going to have so many more times where you fail to achieve any success. But if you have a slam dunk criteria for you, let's say it's you or two people in your company, and you say, hey, we do Oracle services. We're both Oracle people. We decided to create a company. Well, go find small businesses that are doing 5 to 40 million and see where you can fit in with them. It'll be so much easier to get in. And if you go find a company that's doing Microsoft or AWS and you say, hey, we bring Oracle, if you ever have that one-off need, well, they don't want to keep hiring Oracle people. They'd love to subcontract with you. Right? You can build several $1 million in business easily. One of my customers right now is doing over $10 million in subcontracting, and they're just now starting to prime contract. They're like, we think we're ready. It's like, yeah, you're absolutely ready, right? But for you, if you just get rolling, take the time to get 3 past performances or experience in that same past performance. So I used Oracle as an example. It could be painting, right? Go get 3 past performances as a subcontractor under a small business in that core competency and try to get it in one agency. And it can be a department, doesn't have to be an agency within it. So DHS, Coast Guard, FEMA, Secret Service, whatever it is, as long as it's within DHS, get 3 past performances in there as a sub before you start priming. I always say go for 3 years and 3 million, with that, whichever's farther. And when you do this, you will make it so much easier as you move forward. You can still use this slam dunk opportunity, but instead of finding slam dunk prime opportunities to put in your pipeline, which is harder to win, just find slam dunk opportunities and go get on a team. There are 1,000+ companies that are small businesses that could win it as a prime that would love to have you as a teammate when you bring a certain skill set. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about a slam dunk. It applies to whether you're subcontracting or priming. Okay, so let's talk about the traditional ways of how we find opportunities right now. And if you see the ones that I have here and you got other ones to add, I'd love to see you put it into the chat. I was actually thinking about putting a post out there and just get people to put their thoughts in. But here are some ways that we go out and we find opportunities. And I was trying to figure out ways that anybody could have access to. And I'll talk about each one of these a little bit as I go forward. But one is SAM.gov, right? SAM.gov, you can go in and you can find contract opportunities. You can find sources sought and RFIs, so during the market research phase, right? And you can find RFPs when they drop. When you think about RFPs, it's too late. So let's leave that out for 1 second. But when you find sources sought and RFIs, that's a great time for you to get engaged with a customer. I have a customer that won on their own, right? They won a $4 million direct award, came directly from replying to an RFI. Doesn't mean it happens every time, but the reason it happened was because they responded to an RFI. The response was quality, right? They wrote for the win, is what I say on RFIs. They responded to the RFI, and the contracting officer invited them in and said, hey, let's talk. You know what? Let's just set this direct award. I never actually followed the story all the way through, but I'd be really curious if they were the only ones who responded, right? Gus, that's one of the questions we got to go ask. But when you get engaged in sources sought in RFIs in SAM.gov, you're hearing about an opportunity earlier. Also, keep in mind, though, in SAM, many agencies put into SAM things like industry days or forecasts that they might have. They might not even have it on their website. They just put it into SAM. So make sure when you understand your target agency, you've developed good search patterns for going into SAM and having it share information with you quickly about the opportunities you want to see. The second place we tend to go, hopefully you're doing this already, but FPDS, right? We think about SAM for future opportunities, the ones that are being identified and coming out. You can actually look at SAM and identify expiring contracts as well, but we tend to go into FPDS more for that. In FPDS.gov, if you haven't gone there, go there, learn how to use it. But in FPDS, I can look at all the contracts that were awarded in my target agency, and I can begin to find the ones I wish I had won. And I'll just look for the ones that are expiring in the next year, in the next 2 years, right? When I've got a handle on that, I might look in the next 3 years if it's a big enough contract. But I'll start looking out and I can find opportunities that way to get into my pipeline. And so when I do that, I would then go back to SAM or figure out how to get old documentation so that I can align those opportunities I'm seeing in FPDS to the criteria I created for Slam Dunk. Anyways, going into GovWin, there's all sorts of paid tools that you can use. GovWin's just been one that a lot of us are really familiar with. And the reason I say it's a good enough tool is because it's no different than any other data source that I'm talking about. There's nothing fancy about GovWin other than the fact that it brings all that data together and they have a little bit of insight. And you can definitely build out a pipeline of good opportunities to go into your unqualified stage so that you can do your own research to find out, is this really a slam dunk for us? But GovWin lists out a ton of opportunities. There's some that it too doesn't have access to, or it doesn't hear about early enough, so it's no better than SAM at that stage. But it sure has a lot. So if you can afford it and you're at that stage, go for it. Agency forecasts, these are perfect. I just put out a directory of all these agency forecasts. So I think we've got them all in there, and you can find it on my LinkedIn profile. But this set of agency forecasts, you can look in there and it'll have out FY 2024 and some FY 2025s. It helps you with the planning activity you need to do. Agency. So if you haven't heard of APBIs, these are one of my favorite things that the agencies do sometimes. And they're called Advanced Planning Briefs to Industry. And basically, they just get everybody together from their organization. They all talk about their needs. And so right now, I have one on another browser that is 173 pages, I think, from the Defense Health Agency, so DHA. And in there, 173 pages. And every, 7 or 8 pages, it's a different part of DHA. And it's awesome because I have a customer trying to help navigate and push further in there. And it's just laying out all these people, opportunities that are all through FY 2024. So it's a great way to look at the opportunities, but also in these APBIs, they tend to break down the requirements a little bit more. This is what we need from industry. That's what I like about the APBIs is this is where the government tries to be candid about what they want from industry. And the last one here on the top set of bullets is agency industry days, vendor outreach sessions. There's all these different types of events agencies host. And if you go there, sometimes they'll be sharing information about their opportunities, the requirements that they have that they're going to be looking to industry to address. Every agency is different, right? So you just got to get to know your agency, your target agency, to see how they're sharing it best. A couple of other ways that are harder to get access to, and if you're not in there, you need to build partnerships. So an example is contract vehicles. STARS 3 is a $50 billion IT contract vehicle. So it's $50 billion ceiling. It's got like another 6 years or something on it. There's 1,200 people on that contract vehicle, but you will never see those opportunities unless you're on there. So you want to go out and build a relationship with somebody who's on STARS 3. They'll put you on the email thread and you'll start seeing the opportunities coming out of Stars 3, right? And same thing with Seaport Next Gen. Somebody can add you right to the portal. You can go in and look at the portal. Same thing with all these different contract vehicles that are out there. So find out what contract vehicles your agency uses most for what you sell, and or what contract vehicles are just in general used for what you sell more than others. You can find that in FPDS, usually the best way. But when you go in, you can see this information, and then you start building relationships with people who have those contract vehicles. Another one is eBuy, right? That's really just another contract vehicle, but it's a tool. So you can team up with people who will put you on that email thread and give you access to eBuy as a partner with them, right? It's not like a named subcontractor. I'm not trying to go that direction, but it's just access to the visibility of those opportunities, which enables you to identify some of those opportunities. Those are all what I consider traditional ways of identifying opportunities, but they're not the best way, right? They're all kind of basically just data sources coming at you without any extra information, right? They're just factual data coming at you, whether you go get it or it's coming to you there's no dialogue, is what I'm saying. So let's talk about the best way to find slam dunk opportunities. And there's two things I really want to cover down, so I want to make sure I balance the remaining time I have here. First is just to help you understand the idea that the best way to find slam dunk opportunities in the federal market as a government contractor is through strategic relationships. So I'm going to talk to you about that, what that means in a second. And then I want to give you the how, right? How do you go build those strategic relationships? And so by the time you walk away from here, hopefully you'll have a good confidence to say, okay, let me go build at least one new relationship. So strategic relationships, when I talk about these, what I mean a strategic relationship is, it's somebody who's agreed to talk with you, right? So it's one thing to make a new contact, have a meeting or two, but a strategic relationship is one who's open to continued dialogue, whatever that looks like, right? So when I talk about working with teammates, for example, I say, if you want to call that a strategic relationship, you need to have a recurring meeting every 2 weeks, 10 or 15 minutes, but we just agree to meet for 10 or 15 minutes every 2 weeks to talk about opportunities, whatever. That is one of my main criteria for it to be a strategic relationship. If it's not, then what you're saying is you care about the relationship, but not enough for us to meet on a regular basis. Now, with inside of an agency, it's a little different. It's harder to get on that kind of recurring schedule, but there's other ways to measure that. We'll talk about that. But there's three types of main strategic relationships I want you to be paying attention to as it relates to finding slam dunk opportunities. As a quick sidebar, I left out the small business professionals because they tend not to be able to tell you about slam dunk opportunities. At best, they're helping you navigate the agency, et cetera. They might hear about things, but the ones you want to talk to are the ones who are actually dealing with the opportunity. And that is always the program office and contracting officers. So the program office, one of my recommendations for you is you really want to determine which program offices, and it doesn't have to be just one, in my target or ideal agency, which program office is perfect for what we sell. They manage it, they run it, et cetera. So an example is SharePoint in the Navy. It's run by NAVWAR. So I have my buying command, Naval Information Warfare Systems Command, or whatever the whole name is, right? But NAVWAR, I know that that's the main big program office, right? In this case, it's a systems command or buying command in the Navy. But farther down, I can go in and find PEO Digital or PEO MLB. And this is ideal for other stuff I want to do with Microsoft 365 or Microsoft SharePoint, Power Platform. If I use that as an example, think about what you sell, right? If you sell, painting and flooring or elevator services, who are the primary program offices, or which program offices are the primary ones for what you sell? Who are the ones with a war room where they have the next 5 years out of what they're trying to get done? We got to replace all these elevators. These buildings need to be, replenished, et cetera. Same thing with IT. If you've got, I was just looking at a bunch of contracts that are coming up for replacing whole tech refreshes of all the computers in a particular agency. Which office is handling that, right? The director of IT or whatever. Identify who that is and then begin to find the people that are in there. I'm helping a customer who's they're in commerce and they're looking at NOAA, and we help them identify all the program offices within NOAA and then put a name or two to every single one of those. Who were the leaders of those offices? Those are the people we're going to go knock on their door, right? So it's not enough to just know the program office, but I want to know the people in there. Contracting officer, go figure out which contracting officers are in your agency and awarding contracts around what you sell. So you might look at them, you might go to FPDS and search your target audience, look for your NAICS code or your keyword. Then you just see which contracting officers are listed there. Same thing with SAM. Go in there and do that same search, and you'll see 2 people at the bottom. These are the people who most likely are doing additional contracts going forward related to what you sell because they've done contracts in the past related to what you sell. Kind of makes sense, right? And teammates, same kind of thing. When we work with our customers, especially we do business development services for our customers and helping them get in the door. When we do this, we look at it from a couple different angles, right? The contracting officers, the program officers, but we also look at the people who are winning. Who are the companies, which companies are winning, larges and smalls, inside our target agency. We say this is inside the wire because these people already have relationships and an ear to the ground to the program offices we're trying to reach. And so we want to build strategic relationships with each of those people. The way that we build those relationships, the steps that we go through, and it goes back to the 7-step process I talked about earlier, is you want to begin by researching an agency. So I use a tool called MindMeister, and maybe somebody put a link in or Gus can put a link in. But when I use this tool, I use it to map an organizational structure of my target agency, the ideal agency. So I said NOAA or Commerce, right? I do this at the department level, at agency levels and on down. But I want to map the organizational structure. And then after I do this, and I'm also learning about the agency, but that's a little separate. When I do this, then I begin to build a list of people who are tied to that organizational structure so that I know who I'm going to reach out to. You know you've done a good job when you have at least 100 names identified. You have so many names identified, you're like, oh my gosh, how am I even going to reach out to these people? And what you forget is a couple of days before that, you're like, oh, I don't know anybody in that agency, right? Now you know a ton of people in that agency. And so once you have that list of people, you've done your targeting, you start doing outreach. And this is where you're establishing a meeting and you're meeting and finding these focuses of receptivity. Going back to strategic relationships, not everybody you talk to will be a strategic relationship. So you want to find people who are going to be a strategic relationship who, especially in agencies, who are focuses of dissatisfaction, meaning they're in the program office and they're either unhappy of how things going or how things are going, or they just have things they want in the future that they don't have at the moment, right? That's dissatisfaction. And you want them to be focuses of receptivity, meaning they're willing to talk with you. This goes back to that criteria of a strategic relationship is they're willing to talk. When you've met with these people and you've found them, now you're just following through in that relationship and developing it. You're talking about their challenges. This is how you will begin to hear about slam dunk opportunities even before the sources saw it, because you're in there talking about the challenges. You're having discussions. You care more about the discussion and how you might be able to help them through a conversation than you do about the opportunity. That just leads to the opportunity. It will start coming your way. Here's what I want you to remember from today's training. The first thing is just make sure you define whether you're going to subcontract under smalls, like I mentioned, or whether you're ready to go after prime contracts. Make sure you define what your slam dunk criteria is, our agency, our core competency, and where we have experience. The second thing I want you to do is build those strategic long-term relationships following what I just taught you there. And one way you can begin that is with this task that I laid out for you is identify your ideal program office. Which program office would you work for if you got a contract that you'd love to win? If you won that contract, which program office would you be under? Then begin to build the relationship with them, but it begins with understanding who they are. Hey, if you want our help, we have a service called BD as a Service. Love to talk to you about it. This is paid service, right? So it's for companies generally doing $1 million or more who can afford it. But the idea is we would do what we're teaching all the time. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. If you're getting value out of what we teach, please consider becoming a sustaining member. Don't forget to go download or access on my LinkedIn profile the list of SBLOs for large primes that's out there as well. For all of us as we move into the rest of our day, just remember, government contracting is not a secret, it's a process. Part of the process is having a good day. I hope you do. I will see you in the next training.